Hey guys, Ash here from C4 Retech, and today we're going to be taking a look at Huawei's new Mate 50 Pro, a phone that seems to signal Huawei's return to the top. It's got a lot going for it. Let's first get it out of the box before taking a closer look at everything it has to offer. This here's the box the Mate 50 Pro comes in. Pretty standard Huawei stuff with app gallery mentioned quite prominently. Opening it up, the first thing we see is the Mate 50 Pro itself. This is the vegan leather orange, which feels quite nice in hand. Very grippy and pretty much free of fingerprints and smudges. I really like how this phone is built. It kind of feels very sleek in hand because both the back and the front, they curve at the edges. And because of that, though this phone is 8.5mm thick, only about 2mm of that metal frame makes contact with your palm. Add to it the fact that it weighs in at around 205 grams, we end up with quite an ergonomic phone that's comfortable to hold and use. Now the front is covered by Kunlun glass for protection, which Huawei claims is 10 times more drop resistant than regular tempered glass, and in select markets like the UAE, even the silver and black variants they come with Kunlun glass, which is good news. Now to the top you see a notch. Yes, a notch in 2022. Now there is a reason behind this. Of course, it has the selfie camera, a 13 megapixel f2.4 snapper with a wide field of view. It's good, it gets the job done, it can fit a lot in, the selfies turned out nice, it even allows for 4K video. But what is special here, and the actual reason why the selfie camera is in a notch and not a hole punch, is because Huawei's included a time of flight sensor. So instead of the regular 2D face unlock, you get actual secure 3D face unlock, which was quick and accurate. So was the fingerprint scanner, which is buried underneath the display. And this combination here makes the Mate 50 Pro one of the very few devices today which offer two secure biometric options. Anyways, now a little above this notch sits the earpiece, which also doubles as a secondary speaker, making for a stereo setup. The output is loud and the quality is quite rich. The primary speaker resides at the bottom alongside the USB Type-C port, primary microphone and a tray. This is a kind of hybrid tray wherein with the Mate 50 Pro you can use either two nano SIM cards or a single nano SIM and Huawei's own nano memory. While it is not micro SD, it's still nice to see some kind of memory expansion support on an actual flagship. Also, this rubber grommet that you're seeing here, it's present because the Mate 50 Pro carries an IP68 water and dust resistance rating. Now coming back to the placements, the left is clean. Up top we've got a secondary mic alongside an IR blaster so you can control appliances around the house if you want to. To the right we've got the power and volume keys that are pretty clicky and tactile. To the front below that notch sits a 6.74-inch OLED panel with a unique resolution. The resolution here, it's kind of midway between Full HD and Quad HD. It's 2616 by 1212 pixels, making for a very sharp 428 pixels per inch pixel density. Now this is a 10-bit panel with support for HDR10+. It gets bright enough to not pose issues outdoors. There's also 1440Hz PWM dimming. We get Widevine L1 certification too. Now on the other hand, this is not an LTPO panel. So while the refresh rate is 120Hz, you're gonna have to pick between 60 and 120 or leave it at dynamic, wherein the phone automatically switches between 60, 90 and 120Hz depending on the use case to save a little bit of battery. Talking about battery, there's a 4700 mAh unit on the inside. And you know what, let's actually go back to the box. Following the phone, we have this insert that houses the SIM tool alongside a soft case. Then there's a USB Type-A to Type-C cable with orange accents, which is followed by, finally, a 66-watt Huawei supercharger. Now this charger lets you charge that 4700 mAh battery from 0 to 80% in just half an hour, and it reaches full charge in about 40 minutes, which is excellent. There's also support for wireless charging up to 50 watts via Huawei's proprietary wireless charger, and we even get 5-watt reverse wireless charging to top up peripherals if needed. Now to the back, this right here is Huawei's camera island. They call this the space ring design. The ring itself has Clou de Paris pyramid-esque patterns that are etched in. The fact that the camera island is this large means though there is a protrusion, the phone remains balanced when set on a surface. There's no noticeable wobble. Let's now take a closer look at the optics. The primary is a 50 megapixel sensor. Huawei calls this the Ultra Aperture XMage camera. What this means is that 50 megapixel sensor is paired with an optically stabilized lens here that can physically adjust the aperture. You get 10 different aperture levels to play with. It can go from as wide as f1.4 to as narrow as f4.0. We've seen variable aperture implementations before, but guys, back then it wasn't all that useful since the sensor was smaller and the range was much narrower, f1.5 to f2.4 on that size sensor. It didn't really give us noticeable changes with the final image. But here, Just see this for yourself. See how that background gets much blurrier, the depth of field gets much shallower when you go from f4 to f1.4. Now here are some side-by-side shots shot with the same primary camera at f4 and f1.4 respectively. See how you can instantly tell these images apart. And the images themselves, shot by this primary sensor, they turned out excellent. There's a lot of detail, the dynamic range is great, and the color reproduction accurate. Seems like that is the reason why the Mate 50 Pro topped DxOMark ratings this year. If you've been out of the loop, the Mate 50 Pro scored 149 on DxOMark, beating out the likes of the Pixel 7 Pro and even the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Anyway, even under low light, pictures turned out great even without the Super Night mode. The Super Night mode option does a decent job kicking things up a notch and improving the already impressive images. As far as video goes, you can go up to 4K 60 and the footage seems nice, quite stable thanks to OIS. Next up is the 13 megapixel ultra wide, which has autofocus. The colors, they are matched to the other sensors, and this camera, it can focus on subjects as close as 3mm. So you can shoot macro shots like this with the 13 megapixel ultra wide secondary. The third camera is a 64 megapixel sensor. This is paired with yet another optically stabilized lens, f3.5 this time around. The colors, once again, quite evenly matched to what we've been seeing so far. Overall, the results, the shots I took with the telephoto camera, they came out pretty impressive. Actually, forget about the 3.5x zoom that it allows for. Even at 10x with the hybrid setup, the images, they turned out quite detailed. Here's another example. I'm sure you can see how nice it looks. Huawei even lets you go up to 100x, and here's where the stabilization kind of becomes very useful. While the results aren't great by themselves, the fact that you can read the number plate this clear on a car that is parked so far away, that is definitely something, right? Now, of course, the elephant in the room still exists as Huawei remains without Google services. That said, things are a lot better today than they used to be. A combination of Huawei's app gallery, the excellent Petal Search, and G-Space mean you get pretty much all the apps that you'd want on Huawei devices these days. In fact, I have a full video on exactly this topic. I'll leave a card to that here. Do check it out if you want to know where things exactly stand with Huawei's software at the moment. Now, the user experience was pretty snappy. MUI 13 here, it's user-friendly and filled to the brim with useful features. Like for example, you get stacked widgets or support for resizable smart folders, where you have folders like these, where you can see 9 apps in a 2x2 grid, and you can launch them on a single tap without even opening up the folder. Then there are others like Super Storage that let you compress files and even apps that you don't use all that often to save space. Overall, the Mate 50 Pro, it feels very fluid to use. That's thanks in large to the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 being at the heart of it all. It is paired with 8 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM and 256 or 512 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage. Of course, over here, I need to mention the fact that this is a unique 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC, unique due to the fact that it doesn't come with a 5G modem. This is yet another limitation Huawei's had to deal with, but given 5G right now is just getting off the ground, early days and all, at the moment at least, it might not be a big issue. Now officially, the Mate 50 Pro starts at 6799 RMB in China, and it is confirmed to be launching in some other markets in Europe and the Middle East. Now I was sent this review sample by Huawei UAE, but as of shooting this video, I don't know what the official pricing is gonna be. But once I do, I will add it to the description or pin it in a comment below, so do check that space. And with that, we are at the end of today's quick little unboxing and hands-on video. So what do you guys think of the Mate 50 Pro? Personally, I think this is an excellent offering from Huawei. It feels like a true flagship that can compete with pretty much everything in the market at the moment. Despite all the hurdles they've had to deal with, I think Huawei has done a pretty darn good job. What about you? What do you think? Leave a comment down below. And while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Also subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you're a returning subscriber, do consider turning on notifications by hitting that bell icon. So thanks for watching. Until next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.